The Denver Broncos, obviously, after Super Bowl 50, moved on from Peyton Manning and an onslaught of loss of talent. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets are not in any concern of losing their two-time MVP and finals MVP in Nikola Jokic, so they're not losing their cornerstone piece. However, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Jack White, they're gone. They've moved on. What do you think the Nuggets lesson is for championship hangovers? Because I think that was one of the higher up lessons that we wanted to replicate here. The Denver Broncos lost coaching. They added to the QB carousel that has been maddening them for years. They seem to be on it still. They haven't stepped off. They've lost every single player since the Super Bowl run, with Brandon McManus being the final player off that list. How do you feel about the championship hangover, and how are the Denver Nuggets going to avoid that? What can the Broncos learn from that as well?
Well, it's a great question, because I do think that the championship hangover is going to be real. Like, especially with Jokic and Murray, like once you've climbed to that summit, what is driving you now? What is driving you to be the best version of yourself going forward? That's a human nature thing for just about everybody. And I think at the NBA, you haven't had a repeat champion in the last 5 seasons. This is the first time in those 5 seasons that has actually happened. So going to be interesting to see whether they can replicate it. But I do think that there's a salient difference there, where with Peyton Manning leaving, with him retiring, I remember this very vividly at that moment. It felt like a piece of the identity was going to change just because of how important he was, despite the fact that he wasn't this amazing quarterback anymore. He at least got them to the place where they needed to go and allowed the talent around him, especially on the defensive end, to just work and work their magic. That's a little bit different, I would say, than when you're getting with Trevor Siemian or Brock Osweiler or other guys that have rotated in and out, where you just don't have that confidence that they're going to put them into a place to succeed. With Denver, Jokic is going to be there and Murray is going to be there, and it's just going to feel like that's the best duo in basketball right now. And I don't think that they're changing. They're in their primes, and that's at least the hope the Nuggets fans are taking going forward, that identity isn't going to shift.
Yeah, I think that's another big difference between these two teams, especially when we talk about the championship hangover, is the Nuggets are built to survive that. Like, with Jokic being, 27 right now?
28.
28?
Yeah.
And Murray being 27, 26, Porter Jr. being 24. Like, they're all in the primes of their career, just about to start the primes of their career. And they're locked up for a while. And Jokic seems to be like the only superstar outside of maybe Giannis. But even Giannis has like a little bit of bubbling that no one's worried about ever leaving his team, which is so valuable.
What about the Lakers fans? Sorry.
Meanwhile, the 2015 Broncos were built like, it was awesome. They won the Super Bowl. It was great, but not a very sustainable way. Like, the 85 Bears didn't win multiple Super Bowls. The 2000 Ravens didn't win multiple Super Bowls. The Legion of Boom Seahawks came very close, but didn't win multiple Super Bowls. When you have that, like, kind of offense scraping by defensive minded thing, you're relying on so many pieces. You don't need just like 11 elite pieces, because you also need great depth behind those guys and everything just to sustain an elite defense. The Broncos had 4 guys average 5 pressures a game in the playoffs for that Super Bowl run. Just like insane stuff we've seen like 4 times in NFL history. You can't sustain that over a long run. The Nuggets are built a more sustainable way, I feel. But
and one of those guys that I remember, if I do recall, Malik Jackson. Am I pulling the right name there? Malik Jackson gets that contract, I believe, from Jacksonville, and he leaves for this massive deal. That's just part of the process, where you start to have the Carrion Crows of the other team start to pick apart your defense and pick apart your talent. And the guys who were your 4th or 5th most important piece are now being paid like 1st or 2nd most important piece guys. And you can't afford everybody in a situation like Denver had. So it is really tough to win consistently in the NFL. Like, I'm not a Tom Brady fan, believe me, but he was just this like enigma in terms of being able to do it over and over again. And
you're totally right.
I hate it.
You're totally right.
I'm gonna kick you off the podcast, Ryan.
Should we have the biggest Tom Brady fan
podcast for being a Tom Brady hater?
Yes, isn't that crazy?
It's insane. But Jokic reminds me of a quarterback that Broncos country might hate even more, a different number 15, Patrick Mahomes. And I think that Denver can at least take some solace in that. Like, it sucks you have to go up against that guy twice a year, but at least you have the basketball version, just in terms of like the ultimate floor raiser. And I think what we saw in the playoffs was at this point in Jokic's career, he's just unguardable. Whatever you do, it's like it's not much like defenses facing Mahomes. It's not like, how do you stop him? It's like, how do you want to die? What's the best, like, do you want to die by him dropping 50 on you, or do you want to die by him dropping 20 points and 20 rebounds on you? It's like Mahomes, like, I guess it's better if we force him to make 80-yard drives down the field, is the same to me as teams being like, oh, I guess we just got to let Jokic drop 60. I don't know. I think the Nuggets are set up for a long time in that same sense. Like, the Chiefs lost some pieces from that first Super Bowl winning team. I think in the same sense the Nuggets lost Bruce Brown, and it was like, okay, well, we've got the dude, so let's just find the pieces around him and we can be right back at it again, because he's just the ultimate floor raiser.
Certainly makes it a lot easier. I'm hoping that Russell Wilson can kind of recapture some of that momentum that he had, and hopefully this is a little bit different under Sean Payton, but it is a little bit scary. Like, I'm not going to lie, and I know the Broncos fans are still feeling the same way, that he didn't give a lot of confidence over the course of this last season. So hopefully, there was a little bit of an end of season bump. Started to see a little bit of progress there, but I'm still a little bit skeptical about where that goes. But I want to be proven wrong. I would desperately like it, because like the city of Denver, as great as it has been with the Nuggets being like on fire, they put the city on fire. The Avalanche won their championship last year, or 2022. The city is even better when the Broncos are just killing it, like when they're just dominating. So I think everybody wants that. Everybody wants everybody else to do pretty well, and like that's, like, I can't imagine what a championship parade for the Broncos would be like right now. That's for sure.